Okay, here we go. Stand by. 3, 2, 1, action.
Assume nothing.
Brash, bald-faced blasphemy.
Question everything.
I find it extremely hard to imagine.
Open your eyes.
It is quite all right to be an atheist.
The fastest growing group of people in the country has been measured as being those who have no belief or who are atheists.
You don't have to be apologetic or quiet about it.
Challenge the opposition.
You see religion on 100 fronts losing the argument.
And start thinking. This is The Thinking Atheist Worldwide.
Tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Harry's Razors, a terrific company and a great gift for the guy in your life who has pretty much everything. Right now, they've got giftable razor sets that start at $15. Sleek razors, 3 high-quality blades, your choice of foaming shave gel or shaving cream, wrapped and ready, free shipping, and you get $5 off when you use the promo code ThinkingAtheist. So log on, harrys.com, HARRYS.com. Next Tuesday's podcast ought to be an entertaining one, and quite possibly an alarming one. It's called Religious Schools, Religious Rules. And we're going to talk to people in this audience who have had experiences in some kind of a religious school. You know, did you attend a Christian elementary or high school, or maybe a religious university of some kind? Can be Catholic school, can be any religious institution, because many of these places are like pods. They're like their own little planet, right? They have their own culture. They have their own sets of often very strict rules. What you can wear, what you can't wear, who you can talk to, who you can't talk to, how you conduct yourself when you're not in the classroom. You know, they actually sort of dictate your personal, private life outside of school. What was it like? What are some of the strangest things that they said or did or imposed or requested? We're going to talk about that. If you have a perspective you'd like to add to the show, you can call in next Tuesday or email podcast@thethinkingatheist.com. You know, I remember when I was in 4th grade, we attended this tiny private Christian school. It's called Temple Christian School. And they had these little partitions between the students. You'd all sit at a long table, and they had these wooden partitions between the students. And when you had a question for the teacher, you didn't raise your hand. They had a little American flag, and you would take the flag and you would stick it in this little hole up here on top of the partition so that the teacher could see that you required help. And then the teacher would come over and take down the American flag for you and answer your question. We had slacks and dress shoes, you know, every day of the week. And we had a very strict guideline as to what color they could be. You know, they have to be exactly this color or exactly this color. And on Wednesdays, which was chapel day, kind of a church day for Christian schools, we were all the guys required to wear a necktie. These little clip-on neckties that we had to wear. But we still had gym class, you know, physical education, which when the weather was nice was held outside. They had these basketball goals in the parking lot. And so you can imagine you've got all these young kids, 4th grade, wearing slacks and dress shoes and neckties, and they're out there playing basketball. Bizarre. You know, I think about it now and I'm like, this was my normal. And a lot of people have stories about, you know, how their environments were and the things that struck them most. So anyway, the email is podcast@thethinkingatheist.com if you would like to sound off. I have some very special guests on the podcast tonight, and I am delighted to be doing a show about debunking the bunk that's out there. But first, if I may, allow me to say a huge thank you out to tonight's show sponsor. It's Harry's Razors. They're an easy organization for me to get behind, and I've rejected lots of people to be on this radio show. But Harry's provides the whole sort of ship to your front door convenience. They've got good stuff, started by a couple of guys who just figure they could do the whole shaving thing better than the big boys, and they do a great job. They ship their razors directly from the factory in Germany. Shipping is always free to you. Their shaving sets are really slick. They've got like the Truman set that includes the razor, 3 high-quality blades, and the foaming shave gel. $15 for that set, $5 off your first purchase if you use the promo code Thinking Atheist. So that's an awesome deal. They've got the Winston set with that groovy chrome handle on it, $25 for that set. The Jimmy Chin, it runs $20 for the whole shave set with free shipping. I personally like these guys. I like the way the razor feels. I like that they offer shaving plans so you can fashion delivery based on how much you shave. Once a day, once a week, whatever. You can fashion it for you. And of course, I love the fact that they are proud supporters of the Thinking Atheist radio podcast. So get a premium shave without a premium price. Check it out at harrys.com and make sure to use the promo code Thinking Atheist for $5 off your first purchase. That's harrys.com, HARRYS.com. On the panel tonight, I have Dr. Harriet Hall, probably best known as the Skep Doc. She's an MD, retired family physician, and a former Air Force flight surgeon. She is a columnist for Skeptic and Skeptical Inquirer. She's one of the founders of the science-based medicine website. Dr. Hall recently co-authored the textbook Consumer Health, A Guide to Intelligent Decisions. James Underdown has been the executive director for the Center for Inquiry Los Angeles since 1999. He's written for Skeptical Inquirer and Free Inquiry magazine. He's founder and chairman of the Independent Investigations Group in Hollywood, California. And then Yvette Guinevere. She's an analytical chemist with a background in forensics and toxicology. She's probably best known as the Science Babe. She runs the website SciBabe.com. And all three join me on the radio tonight. Thank you so much for being here.
Good to be here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, thanks.
James, you're the only one here that doesn't have a nickname. I've got the Skep Doc, I got Science Babe. You know, we need a catchy little moniker for you, man.
Oh, I've got lots of nicknames, nothing that you could say.
Most of them have 4 letters in them. Yeah, I understand completely. We're talking here about medicine and alternative medicine and science and pseudoscience. And you'd think in the year 2015, a lot of these things would have sort of gone the way of the dodo, but we continue to see a lot of crazy stuff lapped up by the public. I mean, often to the tune of millions of dollars. Dr. Hall, I will start with you. What's been kind of the one fire in your belly lately? Is there something out there that's just been driving you crazy?
Well, before I get to that, I'd like to say something that has been said many times, but it can't ever be said too often. There is no such thing as alternative medicine. There's medicine that's been tested and proven to work, and there's medicine that hasn't. And when something is proven to work, it becomes part of medicine. So alternative medicine is just a marketing term, same as integrative medicine. What's concerned me most recently is the measles outbreak at Disneyland. That's been all over the news, and that should never have happened.
Well, give me the Reader's Digest sort of a synopsis of, I mean, was it one person? Was it 10 people? What happened?
One person with measles was at Disneyland, and other people caught it. Measles is one of the most contagious diseases there is. You can catch measles from just walking into a room where someone has, with measles, left 2 hours ago. The virus can stay in the air that long, as well as being on objects. And eventually, I forget now exactly what the count is up to. I think it's around 70 people.
It's over 100 now.
Is it really?
Yep, and it's hit, I believe, 7 states.
Right, because people were visiting Disneyland and went home and brought it home with them.
Disneyland is like ground zero. Everybody's hopping on a plane and heading out to infect people in their own circles. That's crazy.
And I actually live in Anaheim, so this really bothers me.
And it's not just the numbers of cases. It's, measles is generally a mild disease, and people have tried to poo-poo this and say, oh, well, it's only 70 people in there, or however many people it is now in there. And there's 30 million people in California, so it doesn't mean anything. But there's a lot of suffering involved, and people can die from measles encephalitis and pneumonia and one thing and another. And most of the people who caught measles were not fully vaccinated. And some of them were too young to be vaccinated, young children that weren't old enough to get the vaccine yet. And I think I read that 25% of the cases had to be hospitalized. So it's not a trivial childhood illness. It's a potentially very serious thing. And it's so tragic because measles could have gone the way of smallpox by now. It's transmitted only from person to person. There's no animal reservoir. And if we got enough people vaccinated and had a high enough herd immunity, we could completely eradicate it from the surface of the planet.
Do I have to call Jenny McCarthy and say thanks for nothing? Or, I mean, every time I go to Yvette's page, there's something about the anti-vaxxers. I know this rubs you the wrong way, Yvette. You've been following the Disney thing and the anti-vax sort of movement, have you not?
Oh, yeah, quite a bit, especially the story at Disneyland. Like I said, I live in Anaheim. I'm actually only about 3 miles away from Disney. And I was at Disneyland on the days of the outbreak because I have an annual pass. Luckily, because there is a wonderful quiz on the CDC's website saying which boosters do you need. And it said that I needed a booster. So I went out and got my MMR booster a couple months ago. And I put the pictures of me with my little Band-Aids on the site. So, I mean, I didn't even worry about the possibility of getting it, but it horrified me how many people were exposed and that this, if I hadn't, just checked, and I only checked that I needed this, my boosters because I was running SciBabe. I only started this 5 months ago. So, I could have been one of the people who was infected. The number of people who could have gotten infected, and it's not always anti-vaxxers who aren't fully vaccinated. It's adults who are unaware that they need boosters, people who are just not aware of what the vaccine schedule are. It's people who have moved and are not up to date on it. So, I mean, this can affect a lot of people. And like the Skepdoc said, it's infants that are too young to vaccinate. So this is a huge problem, and this should have been wiped out. I read an article from the New York Times. They thought it was going to be wiped out in 1983. 1 in 20 cases of the measles can lead to pneumonia. There's another person who's trying to downplay this. It's Dr. Bob Sears, who wrote, quote unquote, the vaccine book. And he tries to play it off as a middle ground between being anti-vax and pro-vax. And he promotes a slower vaccine schedule, but really he's coming across as very anti-vax. And they've all been trying to push off the blame. They've all been trying to say, don't blame the anti-vaxxers, but really it's the anti-vax movement that's behind this entire outbreak. And it's kind of heartbreaking and scary to see what's happening to people. And it's not the people that are anti-vax that are getting hurt, it's their children. And that's, I think, one of the most heartbreaking things through this whole situation.
James Underdown, I can't help but think that if we had burned the right incense and worn our power balance bracelets, that none of this measles stuff would have been a problem,
The entire outbreak could have been prevented with crystals.
My chakras were out of balance and the measles was allowed into my body. You see a lot of bunk out there, James. I mean, what's your area of focus? What's the stuff that you deal with the most? I realize it's a broad question, but I want to play to everybody's strengths. So tell me.
We deal with a huge spectrum. I mean, we actually have dealt with alternative medicine claims, although, we don't have the medical expertise of someone like Harriet or Steve Novella, but there are medical claims that can be tested pretty easily. And a lot of the stuff that we're looking at, I see on late night television, and my wife can attest to me throwing things at the TV. People selling copper socks and you mentioned power balance bracelets and Kinoki pads. And there's just a plethora of items out there that are, $1 million businesses that arguably do absolutely nothing and are being bought up in great quantity.
Now, I got to stop you right there. What's a Kinoki pad? What is that?
It's a sticker, Seth. It's a sticker.
Like a Band-Aid, just something with adhesive on it, and it's supposed to...
Yeah, pretty close to that, actually. It's this pad that you stick onto the bottom of your foot when you go to bed at night, and it's completely white. And the claim is that when you wake up in the morning and you see that this thing has turned brown, that means that it has been removing toxins from your body through the bottom of your foot all night long. Now, we actually did an experiment on one of these things, and it's like $11 or something for a box. You buy it at CVS. And we did an experiment on one of these things, and I put one of the Kinoki pads inside a porcelain bowl and dropped some distilled water on it and then sealed it up completely so even the air could not get into it. So, where are the toxins in the bowl? There are none. It's distilled water, and it's this thing. And I came back the next morning, and the thing was brown, lo and behold. So, I don't have to be a doctor of medicine to wonder where the Kinoki pad got all those toxins. And the answer is it got it from nowhere because it didn't need any toxins in the first place. It just needed moisture to turn the pad a different color, and that's all that's really happening.
There is a sucker born every minute. I've been guilty. I remember it was 20-some years ago. My first red flag should have been that this was a non-physician, non-scientist who was selling, but it's back when the shark cartilage, and it was kind of a pyramid thing where they'd have the caplets, and they did have you guys seen the experiment where you actually hold the bottle filled with pills, and then they try to push your arm down?
That's applied kinesiology.
Can you explain that to me, Dr. Hall? Explain that for the audience. There was an experiment they tried with me, and I know there's some psychology behind it or something.
Yes, I'll tell you a funny story about that. In applied kinesiology, they believe that they can get all kinds of information from your body by testing your muscle strength, and they give you they'll give you a vial of an allergen and have you hold it in your hand, and they push down on your arm, and if they think that your arm is weaker while you're holding that vial, that proves that you're allergic to what's in the vial. Now, this is a sealed vial, okay? And I heard a talk by a chiropractor who was doing this, and he said he had one patient that he thought must be allergic to something in the workplace. And the patient worked at Boeing. And he said, I didn't have a vial of Boeing, so I wrote Boeing on a piece of paper, and that worked just as well. But the really funny story was what happened to Ray Hyman. They had a group of chiropractors that were using applied kinesiology to demonstrate that one kind of sugar was worse than another, glucose or fructose. I forget what the deal was, but they could tell them apart because if they put the good sugar on your tongue, your muscle was strong. If they put the bad sugar on your tongue, the muscle was weak. And this worked every time as long as they knew what it was. So he and Wally Sampson set up an experiment in Wally's medical office, and they had a nurse code all the samples and keep the code until it was all over. And they did a double-blind control test, and I'm sure you can guess the outcome. The chiropractors couldn't tell the difference at all, no better than guessing. And when they broke the code and told the chiropractors what the verdict was, the head chiropractor, as he was leaving the office, he told Ray Hyman, that's why we don't like to do double-blind studies.
Oh, no.
Oh, my God.
This whole scientific process thing is just so inconvenient.
And there's a couple other reasons why that's such a lame-ass test. First of all, everyone who does this gets better at balancing themselves the second time or the third time. So the first time you do it, you're always easier to tip over. So that's on the person who's being tested side. On the other side, you don't know if these people are applying, the same amount of pressure. Is the pressure going in the same direction? There's just all kinds of issues why it's not a good way to test anyone.
What struck me, I think, the most was that these pills I was handed they were sealed up. They were sealed inside the bottle. There was no contact with the medicine itself. And even then I thought, well, how is the medicine affecting my abilities, quote unquote, ability to be able to resist the force against me? I still don't really get.
It's all the frequencies and the vibrations, The frequencies
and the vibrations.
Well, maybe it's a homeopathic allergy. The less of it you're exposed to, the more reaction you're having. So it's in a bottle, so.
Was it James Randi who, on stage in front of a live audience, consumed an entire bottle of homeopathic medicine
I did the same exact thing, and I was doing it because I had a petition against, CVS to see if they would pull them, and of course they didn't. But I was shocked that my video of me doing the exact same thing it's a medicine called Calms Forte. It's a homeopathic sleeping pill, and I pulled a James Randi, and every single time I reposted it, someone would say, James Randi did that first. I'm like, where do you think I got the idea?
Yeah, yeah.
But I downed the thing of sleeping pills. Of course, nothing happened. And it can only be done with Calms Forte, and it was a wonderful demonstration because people are like, the best thing is whenever someone was pro homeopathy, they said you didn't take it right. You had to take less.
You have to take less of the medicine for it to work.
So if I left it in a corner of my house and just stared at it Bronco style, it would have worked.
There's been whole groups of skeptics that have done mass suicides with homeopathic remedies.
Yeah, not one of them keeled over.
Well, this week I did find, I don't know if you saw this, I found one homeopathic remedy that was labeled completely irresponsibly. There was a dog medication that had an quote unquote inactive ingredient that was 13% alcohol. And I made a video of me getting drunk on it to show and that could have backfired on me so horribly, but I was trying to help because alcohol is rarely indicated for dogs. It works kind of the same as humans. Alcohol can be used in cases of antifreeze poisoning, but other than that, don't give it to your dog. It's don't get Fido drunk. And it was called Good Dog. It was supposed to calm down your dog. Yeah, and it was saying the flower essences in the homeopathic remedy were calming down your dog. I'm like, no, you're getting Fido drunk. So to prove my point, I made a video of me getting drunk on it. The media picked it up after Petco was kind of telling me, sorry, we're not pulling it. When the media picked up on it, Petco pulled the remedy. But that was, sometimes the homeopathic stuff in it was doing nothing. The alcohol was getting dogs drunk. And it listed it as an inactive ingredient. Whatever regulations are on the homeopathic remedies allows them to list alcohol as an inactive ingredient. I don't know how that works.
I'm looking forward to the video. I can just see it already. Yvette's like, this stuff is just awesome. I don't know what.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it's great. I'm sitting there with my dog going, Buddy's barking.
I love you, and I love Buddy, and I love everybody. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I got silly. I'm sitting there singing the Star Wars theme song because my dog was wearing a Star Wars sweater. I'm like, it's Dog Vader.
It's my kind of skeptic video.
Oh, yeah.
That's funny.
Oh, yeah. So I do have a little bit of a problem with homeopathy. Either it does nothing or it gets you drunk.
Can we define homeopathy? Is it just medicine that isn't practiced by a physician?
Homeopathy was invented by a German doctor, and he called regular doctors of his time allopaths, and we object to that because we don't practice the kind of medicine that was being practiced back then, and it doesn't mean anything. It's just his own term to insult real medicine. But homeopathy means the homeo comes from the same. The idea is that you can cure something with the same thing that causes symptoms. And I can give you a quick primer on homeopathy.
Yeah, please do.
Here's how it works. Coffee keeps people awake, right? So if you dilute coffee, it will act as a sleeping pill and put you to sleep. And the more you dilute it, the better it works. And you can even dilute it until there's not a single molecule of coffee left in the water. And the water will remember the coffee and put you to sleep. And it gets better, though. You can take this water with nothing in it, and you can drip it on a sugar pill and let it evaporate. And the ability to act as a sleeping pill is transferred somehow to the pill.
Now, I need some of that alcoholic stuff here. Yvette, would you just pass it my way?
But it's already off the market. See, homeopathy works.
I feel cheated.
It's pretty scary that any water that ever hit me has that memory. I pity the water.
I do like to say that it's if it's all true, and water does have a memory, and it's the water in the reservoir has a memory, then it's true that homeopathy is full of shit.
Well, where's the FDA in all this? I mean, we're seeing unsubstantiated claims made.
And some of them don't even say these statements not evaluated by the FDA. There's one called oscillocostinum that says that it's made from a bacteria found in duck liver that will shorten the duration of flu-like symptoms, and it's just pure sugar. I mean, absolutely. I've tasted it just because I was curious. It tastes like table sugar. So I'm not sure how they get away with it. I mean, I think the brand name of it, or the brand name oscillocostinum, says in it, these statements not evaluated by the FDA. One of the major retailers who makes their own version of it does not have these statements not evaluated by the FDA disclaimer. I think one of the most irresponsible homeopathic remedies that I've seen is a homeopathic asthma medication.
Actually, the FDA doesn't have any jurisdiction over homeopathic remedies. They're under a separate law. They were kind of grandfathered in at the behest of a congressman who was also a homeopath way back when. And as long as something is listed in the homeopathic formulary, there is no need to test it. There is no need to put the FDA warning on it. And the FDA has no jurisdiction whatsoever.
Well, in homeopathy, like a lot of these products are very careful not to make too specific a claim. Most of their advertising is based on testimonials of people saying, yeah, I feel better after taking this. So, when you go to the FTC, which is responsible for fraud claims against products, they're not actually making any claims that you can nail them with.
My wife works in the healthcare profession, and from time to time on the grapevine, she will hear these horror stories of people who, let's say they are diagnosed with cancer and they are looking at a long road of chemo and, who knows what. Yeah. And then they stumble across somebody who's selling sunshine, right? And they say, well, actually, if you just
green juice.
Yeah, drink green tea and get enough sun during the day and whatever. And they will reject. They'll walk away from tried, true, tested chemo, and they will go over here and try something else. And then within a course of weeks, months, they're dead. It's tragic.
There was a case in the news just recently that Canadian Aboriginal girl just died, the one that stopped chemotherapy, and the judge said she had the right to do it because they were respecting the traditional practices of her tribe.
Was she old enough to make the decision, or was it a mother-father thing?
No, she was a minor, and the mother said that the chemotherapy was making her sick, and she didn't want to take it anymore. And the girl described how she had a vision where Jesus told her she was cured. And so that's the thing, that it really didn't have anything to do with their traditional beliefs, because the mother took her to a place in Florida that's run by someone who's not even a doctor. And he was using all kinds of totally bogus remedies. And he pretty much guaranteed the mother that he was going to cure the cancer. And when the girl finally died, the parents are not blaming her death on this woo-woo treatment. They're blaming the death on the chemotherapy. They said that the little bit of chemotherapy that she had weakened her body, and that's why she died.
Yeah, and of course, this has happened with Christian Scientists multiple times, where minor children were not treated for treatable illnesses and succumbed to them because their parents didn't believe in modern medicine.
Well, then there was also the story of Kim Tinkham, who Oprah made famous because she said she had read The Secret right before she got breast cancer, and she was going to think the cancer away. And then Robert O. Young, who does live blood analysis, claimed that he had cured her, and now, of course, she is no longer with us because, I'm shocked, the breast cancer killed her because she didn't get any treatment. She was going to think the cancer away.
I did a radio show, was it last year? We were talking about these continued cases of parents with children who have often grave illnesses, and the parents choose for the child to not seek what they call traditional Western medicine, which we just call medicine, and they would lose a child, which is tragic enough, but then it would happen a few years later to yet another child who would often die. And we're still talking about probation or a slap on the wrist because the courts don't want, or juries perhaps don't want to trod upon religious liberty. And this is more common than it should be, certainly.
I've written about that. In fact, there's a new book called "Christianity is Not Great," kind of a play on Christopher Hitchens' "God is Not Great." And they asked me to write a chapter for it about religion and health, and I covered faith healing and how parents have been responsible for their children's death, and the law can't prosecute them because there's a religious exemption for Christian Scientists and whatnot. And I covered not just faith healing, but the supposed evidence that shows that religion makes people healthier in general. Churchgoers are healthier. And I did a lot of research for that chapter, and I learned a lot about it. But the faith healing was the saddest thing.
Well, it's a great segue into my next segment. By the way, I'm speaking with Dr. Harriet Hall, the Skepdoc. I've got James Underdown and Yvette Guinevere, the Science Babe, on the radio as we do some debunking. Let's talk about the faith healers. A lot of people, they throw away their medicines, they throw away their canes and walkers, and they go and they see a faith healer. Is it true, James Underdown, that you have attended and even been on stage during a Benny Hinn healing crusade?
I was so close to being healed. I was third. I was third from the stage. I've been to see Benny Hinn 3 times, and the third time, you need a couple of times to figure out how the system works. And by the way, all the really sick people are in the back of the stadium. They're on gurneys and in wheelchairs, and none of these people who are really sick ever get called up to the stage.
Go figure.
The people who get called up to the stage are volunteers who decide on their own that they've had some sort of problem and then been healed on the spot. And so I ran down there even before the actual call went up, and somebody grabbed me at the end of the line and they said, "What happened?" And I said, I hurt my knee in football and when I was in high school, and I felt lightning go through my leg, and now it feels better. I can walk again. And they moved me up 20 people in the line. Then the next person grabbed me and they said, "Well, what's your problem?" And I said the same thing. I was high school and the lightning, and I feel better now. And they moved me up to within 10 people of the stage. And now a doctor, or someone who identified themselves as a doctor, said, "What's your problem?" And I said, started the story again, and they said, no, exactly what was your diagnosis? And I said, well, I had a medial collateral tear. Actually, I said I had an anterior something. I said the wrong thing, and the doctor didn't know it was wrong.
Oh, he didn't. I was going to say, I thought you got busted. I thought he heard you pull that out of your ass and just said, "Oh, this guy's bogus," and kicked you out. Even the physician, quote unquote physician, didn't realize that you were just making it up on the spot.
Oh, I think I said exterior cruciate ligament or something like that. It was bullshit. And they said, "Okay, stay right here." And I was like, third in line to go up there. And just as I was walking up to the stairs, they called time, and it was, that was the end of the service and everything. But
you were so close. You were so close to receiving the touch of God and the healing, my friend.
Michael Shermer tells about a service that he went to. He was originally a fundamentalist believer before he became a skeptic. Yeah. And when he was in college studying theology, his roommate persuaded him to go with him to one of those faith healing things. And his roommate was selected for treatment. And the guy said, "You are healed," and it kind of pushed on his forehead or something, and he collapsed. And so afterwards, Michael asked him, "Well, what did you feel like? What happened?" And he said, "There were 2 of his cohorts behind me, and they pulled me down."
They literally exerted physical force, so it wasn't like even a self-hypnosis or a suggestion thing. He literally got kicked over.
Exactly. They forced him down and made it look like he'd been struck by the hand of God.
It's kind of a low-tackle approach of Jesus to come down and infuse you with healing. Sure.
Yeah, there's a great story from the early days of Skeptical Inquirer when James Randi and Paul Kurtz and some of the early founders of PsyCop and Skeptical Inquirer went to a faith healer, and one of them was dressed as a woman and went on stage and was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. It was probably not accurate.
I'm just curious, if these guys are really so good at faith healing, can they regrow a limb for someone?
Yeah. Well, I'm always
throw down the
reminded
gauntlet.
of Oral Roberts, the evangelist who started the university in my hometown. And once the university was built and going, he said God appeared to him and asked him to build a hospital, the City of Faith, including a special cancer center. And the entire time, even as a believer, I'm thinking, why would a faith healer need a hospital? I mean, can't you just sort of put a tent up and we'll just roll everybody by and bam, 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 everybody's healed. Have a nice day. I mean, it's a huge oxymoron, and nobody in the media was talking about it.
What was that lady's name that had the zapper? I'm blocking on her name right now. She had a zapper that, Hulda Clark. She had an electric zapper that would kill the parasites and cure all kinds of diseases and cure cancer. And when she got cancer, she didn't even try the device on herself, and she died of cancer.
Oh, no.
Well, there's another one, the wellness warrior, who, same thing, peddles green juice to get everyone to be saved. And now she's dying of the cancer that she's trying to tell everyone, my green juice saved my cancer. And now, of course, it's not working. So she's telling everyone, yep, go into conventional medicine. So these people don't even buy their own bullshit.
I can add one more to that. Where the user doesn't seem to use his own ability. There was a psychic surgeon in the Philippines who, I think he had appendicitis or he needed some operation. Did he operate on himself? No, he flew to San Francisco and went to a hospital.
It was funny when I was I've done some research over the years on the tactics of the faith healers. And I'm going to come back to that. I'll start with you, James, because I know you can actually sort of help expose some of the tactics. But one of my favorites and one of the most clever, and it just made me laugh out loud, was when the faith healer, let's call it Benny Hinn or whoever, Peter Popoff or whatever, sees somebody on the front row with crutches, and they bring them up and they are healed, and then they walk. And what's not revealed to the audience is that the crutches sitting next to the guy actually belong to the dude sitting next to him. Didn't even belong to the poor schlub they pulled up on stage. You probably had a different condition.
Well, yeah, and let's not forget too. I mean, the 3 times I've seen Benny Hinn were in professional sports arenas, the Anaheim Pond and where the Sacramento Kings play. I mean, these places hold 18 to 20,000 people, and they're pretty full when he does his service or show or whatever you want to call it. So, I mean, even if you do have some sort of sciatica or backache or something, if you're walking on stage in front of 20,000 people, most people's adrenaline is pumping pretty hard at that point, and you may actually be in less pain for a little while. But if you cut to sitting on the Barca Lounger in a week, I bet my last dollar their sciatica's acting up again.
Did you have to pay to get in? I've heard reports that some people actually have to pay to get into some of these healing crusades. I didn't know if that was true or not. So
no, it's all free to get in, and they pass the buckets around. And if I were a robber, I would steal them blind.
Just like they've done to people for years.
What are some other... I'm sorry, go ahead, Dr. Hall. Do you want to chime in?
About the adrenaline, there was a sad case where a woman with cancer that had metastasized to the spine was at one of those crusades. And the healer had her come up on stage and said, "You're healed, now you can walk." And she encouraged her to walk and dance around and everything. And it caused one of the weakened vertebrae in her spine, a couple of her vertebrae, to collapse. And she ended up in terrible pain with problems that she would not have had. She did more than her body told her she ought to be doing.
I recently told the story of a guy whose name escapes me, but he had a chronic back condition. He went to a faith healing service of some kind. It was more of a local service. It wasn't one of these touring televangelists, but it was a local thing. And, when they do the quote unquote slain in the spirit thing, they collapse and faint backwards, and they have these ushers in sort of the catcher position to catch them and lay them softly on the ground. And so he was quote unquote slain in the spirit and fell backward, and there was nobody in the catcher position, and he landed on a hard concrete floor and exacerbated an already horrible back injury, and he actually ended up suing the church to the tune of 7 figures before I think it was over, And I don't know if that's justice or what. I don't really know, but it was an interesting story.
The really sad ones to me are the people who forego effective cancer treatment for quackery. And the Journal of the American Medical Association used to have a feature in the early part of the 20th century where they'd present a cancer testimonial on one side of the page. I went to Mexico and I was cured with coffee enemas or whatever. And then on the opposite page, they would print the death certificate where the same person had died.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, man, that's amazing.
Back to you real quick, James, while we're talking faith healers. What are some of the tricks? What are some of the things that they do? It looks impressive from the stage, but it's really a gimmick to make people think that some healing is happening. Can you enlighten us a little bit?
Yeah, rule number one, no sick people on the stage.
Make sure they're at least ambulatory and whatnot, right?
Yeah, rule number two, let the entire thing be based on testimonial. There's nobody testing or diagnosing these people before and afterward. The whole thing is just based on whatever they're telling them and how they feel at the moment. Even if they are telling the truth, and they're experiencing some problem and they feel better. Like I said, the adrenaline may give them temporary relief. There's nobody, and by the way, this is an audience of 18,000 people who are self-selected. They went there on their own volition. They're all believers. When I was there, I was the only skeptic, or the skeptics I was with were the only ones who had the slightest doubt that this was really happening as it looked like it was happening. So these people really are, I think a lot of them obviously truly do believe that the power of God is coming through this man's hand. So there's this intense expectation of some sort of feeling better. So they probably do feel better in the short term. So it's just this perfect thing. And I mean, you should go see one of these things once. The production, the theatrical production is masterful. Sound, music, lights, fluctuation of emotion. It felt like I had new insight to what a Nuremberg rally was in the 30s. It's truly, they played the audience like a Stradivarius, and it works, and they all went for it.
Well, if there is a devil, let me play his advocate for just a moment, and any of you can respond, or all of you, but I've got a condition. I go, you know what? They made me feel better. I left, and my more positive state of mind actually helped me to recover faster. It may or may not be true, but it's sort of helped me feel better, and it aided in my recovery. What's the harm? How would you respond?
May I recommend a puppy instead? I think one of the biggest problems with the alternative medicine, with, I guess, the faith healer type things, is that they'll stop people from getting real medicine because they'll say, oh, this worked, I'm not going to get another treatment. And in the place of it, like, they'll get homeopathy, they'll get the faith healer, and they'll say, this is working for me. And all the while, if they have something like cancer, if they have something very pernicious, they won't be seeking out the type of treatments that are available that can work. So I think that's the biggest harm. And all the while, they're padding the pockets of a charlatan.
When people ask me what's the harm, I refer them to the website. There's a whole What's the Harm website that collects stories of people who were harmed by false beliefs.
Oh, okay.
And there was also a great medical study where they compared acupuncture to sham acupuncture to an effective treatment for asthma. And when they asked the patients how they felt, everybody said they felt better. And the placebo worked just as well as the real drug as far as making them feel better. But then they did lung function tests on them, and they found that the only ones who had actually improved their lung function were the ones taking the pharmaceutical.
So is that just the difference between feeling better and being better?
Right. And that can be fatal in asthma, because if you're having a serious asthma attack and don't realize how bad it is, you may not get treatment in time. And that's one of the big causes of death in people with asthma.
Well, and I would go one step further, and those are completely legitimate criticisms of it. But even on the lighter stuff where people like people wear these power balance bracelets and these stupid medical things, and they think it's going to get them to shoot a free throw better. And the weird thing is, it might actually get them to shoot a free throw better because they believe they're going to shoot a free throw better. So I'm okay with having that discussion where your state of mind or your level of anxiety or how you deal with pressure or pain is part of the process of how you experience pain or some physical activity. So if your head is in the right spot, as any athlete will tell you, athletes get into these grooves every now and then where their head, they call it in the zone. If you're in the zone, you're performing better. And there are different things that can get you into the zone. But let's understand that that's what it is. It's a state of mind issue and not wearing some stupid rubber band on your wrist.
As a baseball fan, I have to say, let them wear the stupid rubber band sometimes. Whatever works. The Red Sox had a horrible year last year. Let them all have rubber bands.
So,
in medicine, if they get a good effect like that from a placebo, wouldn't it be better to have the same placebo effects along with a real treatment that really does something?
Exactly.
If I was made aware that I was taking a placebo and not real medicine, I think I'd be pissed. I think I'd be angry. Like, give me the goods. Give me the real thing.
I thought I read something that people in one study were told that they were getting a placebo and still experience some improvement. Do I have that right?
Well, yes, they were told they were given a placebo, but they were told that placebos are effective.
Oh, right. Okay. So they didn't know that placebos, they didn't know what they were taking.
All right. Well, while the devil and I are busy being advocates for each other here, let me throw one more out. Then I'll let the panel throw down on it. Come on. Medicine's all about money. The only reason that they're pitching chemo, the only reason they're pitching these expensive tests and processes, the only reason that they're throwing all of this quote unquote medicine at us is so the pharmaceutical companies can laugh all the way to the bank. We're all just consumers. It's all big business. It's a big conspiracy. It's something that needs to be exposed. That's why I embrace an all natural approach. How would you respond to that?
Quoting my good friend Penn Jillette, bullshit. It's anytime I have to say that, I'm very happy. But there are two things at play here. Number one, burden of proof. Whenever a pharmaceutical company goes to put something on the market, there is a huge amount of proof that they have to give that their drugs are two things. Number one, safe, and number two, effective. You're never going to hear a pharmaceutical sales executive say just that they believe in their drug. They might believe in their drug, but they also come with a lot of evidence that their drug is safe and effective. They have to show that the efficacy of the drug is more useful than to the person taking it than just the side effects, versus somebody who's selling something that's all natural, gluten-free, GMO, now gluten-free, GMO-free, et cetera, who generally doesn't have any burden of proof on them. Like I always tell someone, if you see on the label, this product is not evaluated by the FDA, it's probably bullshit. That person is selling something too. They're just going to tell you the other guy is a corporation, don't listen to him. Not being a corporation doesn't necessarily mean that you have a better product.
What's funny is that a lot of the diet supplements are sold by subsidiaries of Big Pharma, and nobody ever talks about Big Supplement. That's big business. Do you know how many millions of dollars of profit they're making on selling water as homeopathy?
You're saying that pharmaceutical companies will often bring in like a homeopathy wing or something?
No, diet supplements.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood.
Natural medicines and unproven remedies that haven't been tested, things that are sold under the Diet Supplement and Health and Education Act.
Well, and the whole logic behind the Big Pharma conspiracy theory is flawed anyway, because if Big Pharma came up with a drop-dead cure for cancer, I think they might make some money on that too.
Yep.
Well, I hear the same kind of argument. There's this, these are the same people that say, someone invented a car that runs on tap water, but the big oil companies won't allow it to be known. And I think to myself, you can't keep a secret in the year 2015.
No.
Somebody sitting on a car that runs on someone sitting on a cure for cancer, and they're holding on to it so they can just treat symptoms to the tune of millions of dollars. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
It's whenever someone tries to give me it's a conspiracy, they're covering it up argument, I always ask them, I'm like, have you ever tried to tell more than 3 people a secret and had it stay secret for more than a week? Multiply that by every scientist on the face of the planet. Good luck. It's not going to work.
That's a great argument against chemtrails. You know, they're outfitting every single airliner in the world with, you know, some sort of device that sprays poison over the populace, and nobody is giving up that secret.
Do you know how incompetent our government is?
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Everybody says they can't do anything right, but they've just kept the greatest secret in the history of all humanity. Yeah, go figure. Speaking
of great secrets, we tested a guy who said he had a perpetual motion machine, which would solve many of the world's problems, energy problems. And he brought in this big, thick 3-ring binder full of equations and reasons why this thing would work. And I said, man, I don't want to see any of this. Just fire that thing up and let's see it run for a few days. And he couldn't even get it to run for 5 minutes.
That was a government conspiracy, obviously. You're part of the conspiracy. It was the reptilians and Starbucks and Monsanto did it too. They were involved somehow.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was your skeptical vibrations that were in
neg vibes causing the problem.
You had some crystals involved too.
I'm talking here with James Underdown. I've got Dr. Harriet Hall, the Skepdoc, and Yvette Guinevere, Science Babe. I want to come back to a very controversial topic. We can address it if you would like. I'll start with you, Dr. Hall, because I know you've spoken to this. Chiropractic. Is chiropractic woo or not? Because I know a lot of people who go regularly to chiropractors for back pain or whatever, and they say, it really does help me. I've had other people who've said it's a bunch of crap, but there are some who really say my chiropractor got rid of my pain. How do you handle this subject?
Some of what chiropractors do works. They use spinal manipulation therapies for low back pain, and that is an acceptable treatment for low back pain. It's not better than any other treatment, but it works. And it's something that physical therapists and doctors of osteopathy and other people also use. So if a chiropractor tells you, I'm going to use a manipulation treatment, I'm going to try it as a short-term treatment of your musculoskeletal problem, that might be legitimate. But if the chiropractor tells you that he's using chiropractic adjustments to put your spine back into alignment, to relieve the pressure on nerves that affect all of the functioning everywhere in your body, run the other way. I mean,
that's often what I hear, Dr. Hall, is, it's all connected to the spine. So if you've got allergies, you just adjust here. And if you've got foot pain, you just adjust here. It's all been mapped out. It all connects to the spine.
The guy who originated chiropractic was a grocer.
And a magnetic healer.
Yes. He believed that 95% of all illness was due to bones out of place in the spine, and the other 5% was due to bones out of place somewhere else. And he said everything in the body is governed by the nerves coming out of the spine. And he claimed to have healed someone's deafness by manipulating his spine. He was too ignorant to know that all of the nerves that go to the ear are up in the skull. There's no way the spine could have any effect on it. And not only that, but he'd never heard of hormone. He didn't know there are other things besides nerves that affect the way the body functions, like hormones. And you can take a heart out of someone's body and put it in somebody else's body where there are no nerve connections whatsoever, and it keeps beating and keeps the patient alive. And chiropractors will try to tell you, it's the nerves from the spine that affect how the heart works.
I heard a claim from one mother who said that chiropractic helped her child get better grades in school. He couldn't focus, but once we went to this chiropractor, his GPA went up. And I thought to myself, I'm a little skeptical about that claim, for sure.
Maybe she told him if you don't get better grades, we're going to this chiropractor
again.
There's two things that I don't like about chiropractors. One is that they tend to be anti-vaccine. Less than half of chiropractors recommend vaccinations to their patients.
Really?
Wow.
And the other thing is that they're quack magnets. Every crazy thing that comes along, applied kinesiology is a big one, and they fall for every quack thing that comes down the pike.
If you want to see, I'd say, the worst of the worst chiropractors on the internet and the planet, look up Billy DeMoss when you're bored and just can't fall asleep one night. He's in Orange County. I've considered taking a visit to his office, except that there are unvaccinated babies running around there, and I don't want that in my life. But he's one of the ones who he adjusts babies. A lot of them are adjusting babies now. They don't have their bones aren't even fully formed yet. Like the spine. I mean, I know Harriet can say more to this than I can, but it's completely irresponsible to crack your baby's bones.
We're all susceptible to suggestion, bad information, wanting to believe. I have a friend who's a dentist, and we saw each other months and months ago, and his wife said, "Hey, honey, show him your back." And of course, our interest is piqued. What are you talking about? And
oh boy,
he turned around and he pulled the back of his shirt up, and he had these large red whelps about the size of a baseball.
Cupping?
Yeah.
Cupping?
Yeah.
Oh.
And so he had gone in, I guess, for a massage, and they had said, do you have any discomfort? Well, yeah, he's had some back trouble. So while he was there, they did acupuncture and cupping.
Oh.
And the result of the cupping was that he had these huge bruises all over his body. And so let's talk about both of those real quick if you have a few extra minutes. Cupping is supposed to do what? I don't get it.
Take your money.
Some people say it increases circulation, and it's really a form of acupuncture. They usually put the cups over an acupoint.
Well, what is acupuncture, and what are they claiming it does as opposed to what does it really do? Can you kind of give us a primer real quick?
Okay, acupuncture says that there is a human energy force called Qi that keeps you healthy, and it runs through channels in your body called acupuncture meridians, and the channels can be accessed at specific acupoints. And if you do anything to stimulate the acupoint, in traditional acupuncture it's putting needles in it, but they can use electricity and all kinds of different variants on it. But any kind of stimulation of the acupoint is supposed to unblock the Qi, improve the flow of Qi, and somehow heal whatever ails you.
I'm just going to sit here in stunned silence for just a moment, if I may.
First, you have to accept that there's Qi.
Exactly. I mean, there's so much wrong with everything she just said that with acupuncture, not with what Harriet said, because that's correct. But what amazes me is that this notion of old-time traditional medicine somehow being better flies massively in the face of the facts. Most things that we've done medically, you don't even want to go back 10 or 20 years, much less 200 or 400.
How about the Western versus Eastern medicine thing? Is there anything to that?
I have a rule. Sorry, if I may, I have a rule, the Star Wars rule of bullshit detection. If they tell you it's better because it was done in a country long, long ago, in a country far, far away, it's probably bullshit.
Okay. James?
So, I hear it all the time, and I correct people, just like Harry mentioned at the top. I mean, there's only scientific medicine and non-scientific medicine. The old stuff, it just doesn't hold up under the microscope. So I don't let people distinguish between the two in a way that makes that sound more fond.
I mean, are people in China doing surgery differently than we're doing it here in the United States? I mean, is there anything to it, or does it just sound good coming off the tongue when somebody's trying to, to sound progressive?
The Chinese prefer Western medicine whenever they can get it. The only people that are using traditional Chinese medicine in China are the old people and the ones who are too poor to afford Western medical treatment.
I saw recently online, it was on the website Earth We Are One. And I mean, people just mail me all the BS best treatments they can possibly find. There was this ancient tonic that, they kept saying it was better because it was around in the days of the plague when people got all sorts of things, and you were supposed to brew this tonic for 3 days. I had ginger and turmeric, and it was very powerful. I'm like, what happened in the days of the plague? People died.
They talk about acupuncture being ancient wisdom. The funniest thing about that is that they're teaching battlefield acupuncture to our military now. And the acupuncture that they're using is ear acupuncture, which was invented out of whole cloth by a French doctor in the 1950s. He observed that the shape of the ear sort of reminded him of a fetus curled up in the mother's womb. And he tried sticking acupuncture needles into the appropriate places in the ear, and he thought it worked.
There's a side issue with some of these traditional medical cures, and that is some people are taking things like ground up rhino horn and tiger testicles and shark fins, and they're making some of these species endangered because they think ingesting this stuff will make them feel better.
It's tragic all the way around.
Yeah.
I've got you guys for just a few more minutes. I do want to respect your time. I know that you've been gracious enough to be with us for an hour here. I'm talking here with Dr. Harriet Hall, the Skep Doc. I've got James Underdown, and I've got Yvette Guinevere, the Science Babe. I'm not sure who it was mentioned a few minutes ago, the GMO debate. And this is something I bought, right? Now it's genetically modified. Oh, my God, it's going to kill us. And
I fell for this one.
That is apparently a huge misconception out there. Who wants to talk about GMOs?
They've been proven over and over again to be safe. We have literally over 1,000 studies now showing their safety. In order to get on the market, they have to be shown to be nutritionally undistinct from their non-genetically modified counterparts. And the amount of evidence that comes up whenever they have a new product, it's huge. Generally, they're genetically modified to resist disease, resist fungus, or something else that's keeping the crops from thriving. And the big argument against them is it's huge profit for Monsanto. It actually reduces the amount of pesticides they have to use. Study after study shows that. So they're safe. They've been shown to be safe for the environment, safe for people. They're good for farmers, good for everyone.
There's just this knee-jerk reaction to science meddling with nature, and I think that's been the case for a long time. And people don't realize that we've been genetically modifying plants, or at least steering the genetics of plants and animals for millennia now. And if we hadn't been doing that, there'd be mass starvation because, if you look at the original corn cob or the original orange or, lots of different foods, it just wouldn't be of much value to us.
I saved him for last, my friends, but we have to talk about him. He was named by Time magazine 44th on its list of the 100 most influential people of 2008. Esquire placed him on its list of the 75 most influential people of the 21st century. And everybody knows his name as Dr. Oz.
Oh. And
okay.
Today,
I'm just going to sit here. I just want to throw the name Dr. Oz out, and you guys just talk to me.
pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Yeah, that's right. He's number one on the influential doing damage list.
Was it that Oprah made him popular? Was he sort of a personality, a household name before that? I've never really followed his story. I just know his name from recent headlines.
A while before I was, the Science Babe, I read an article on him being kind of an anti-vaxxer. He was a really good cardiothoracic surgeon, and it turned out his wife, he married this Reiki healer who was anti-vax. I could be wrong on this, but I read that his kids weren't vaccinated because, as he said, he's the surgeon, but his wife is in charge at home. And his wife started saying, you should have a Reiki healer when you're in the operating room, and his wife kind of influenced him to have all this woo. I think before he was this, famous television doctor. So then when Oprah picked him up, he went from, I'm guessing at one point he was a little more medical on his show, and now it's all bullshit. Like he had the green coffee bean thing on his show. He was promoting it as something that would, as he said, literally burn your fat away. And the company that he promoted now owes the FTC $9 million. That just was announced recently. So he's not looking up any of the things he's promoting. And it's just, I think they studied it, I think something like 300 of the most recent stories he'd put out, and over half of them were not based in science.
Real fast, you mentioned Reiki. Is that like a life force kind of thing?
Yeah, it's kind of therapeutic touch therapy, only it's new agey.
I see. Dr. Hall, do you want to weigh in on Dr. Oz?
It's really unfortunate because a lot of the advice that he has given has been good advice. He's written some books with another guy named Roizen or something like that. And he mixes really good scientific medicine with all of this woo-woo nonsense. And the readers have no way of telling what's what. He was well trained and he was an excellent doctor, but he has gone over to the dark side. I think of him as a media whore.
Yep.
Well, don't mince words, Dr. Hall. Just tell me what you're thinking,
That's the problem with him, is that he's got some real medical chops and he's got great credibility with his audience. So they just swallow everything he says. And it seems like as time has gone by, he gets nuttier and nuttier, and he's hawking his own diet products on the show, and he's bringing in psychics and all these other people, and it's just getting worse and worse. He's spreading more bad information than good now.
I read that the James Randi Educational Foundation awarded him with their Pegasus Award, which is an award intended to, quote, expose parapsychological, paranormal, or psychic frauds that Randi has noted over the previous year. It consists of a silver flying pig, the award does, and refers to claiming something so doubtful it will only happen when pigs fly. So he is an award-winning physician.
Yes.
Thanks to the JREF folks.
He can put it somewhere in that giant mansion of his. I'm sure he has room.
Is there like a Dr. Oz brand? I mean, is buy Dr. Oz this or Dr. Oz that? I mean, he has his own product line. Is that what's going on?
No, but people are advertising their products with the claim that it was featured on the Dr. Oz show.
All right, well, let's sort of BS-proof the audience. Let's protect ourselves from the charlatans, from those who, even with good intentions, are selling bad ideas. How do we filter out the bad and find the good? What are the processes? What are the resources we ought to be using?
I have some words of wisdom on that. I have a rule that I call the Skepdoc's rule. Before you accept any claim, try to find out who disagrees with it and why. There's almost always two sides to a story, and if you see the two sides, you'll usually be able to tell right away which one makes sense and which one doesn't.
That's probably a lot easier to find in the 21st century, too. I mean, thanks to the internet, you can probably locate those arguments pretty quickly.
Bloggers, and there's letters to the editor after a scientific study's been published. There's all kinds of ways to find things out. But if you can't find anybody who disagrees with it, that still doesn't mean you should agree with it. You should just withhold judgment, because it might be that nobody has something new and nobody has spoken out about it yet. And I really think that if people like Jenny McCarthy had followed the Skepdoc's rule when she first heard the idea of the association of autism with vaccinations, and when she first heard all of the anti-vax arguments, if she had really looked at who disagreed and why and found that every one of those anti-vax arguments had been completely debunked, she might have made a different decision.
Anybody else?
I think I want people to ask smart questions when they see something that doesn't seem quite on the level. I don't think people, when they fall for something that's not scientific, I don't think it's because they're stupid. I don't think it's because they're gullible. I think it's because they got bad information that presented itself reputably that didn't deserve a good reputation. So I've been lucky enough to be invited to a few different conferences and to people's groups to give a presentation on the bad science, on my guide to bad science detection. And the biggest question I want people to think of, if you have to question if it's bad science, it probably is.
I would say a couple of things. First of all, and Yvette sort of alluded to this, if it sounds wrong, be extra suspicious. Secondly, to everyone over 40 in the audience, anyone can create a website that says anything. So just because it's online doesn't mean there's even necessarily a scrap of good information on it. So watch out what you take as as gospel there, and go to the sources that have been proven over long periods of time to be good sources of information. The Scientific Medicine website, Skeptical Inquirer, Snopes, things like this, where you can trust the information for a long time now.
Very quickly, for those who are interested in following your work, where's the best way to sort of find your website online, your blog, your resource, your Facebook page? I'll start with you, Dr. Hall. How do people find the SkepDoc?
I have a website. If you just Google SkepDoc, it'll pop right up. And you can always find me on the Science-Based Medicine blog.
James Underdown.
For secular humanism and skepticism, go to centerforinquiry.net, and for paranormal investigations, go to iighq.org.
God, I could have done a whole other hour on paranormal investigations, James. It's just ripe for discussing. We may have to speak again this year. All right. This stuff just blows my mind. You know, we've had some fun in the past with the show Ghost Encounters, where they get the 3 dumbest dudes on the planet with some sort of an electrometer, and they throw them in a house with a video camera and go, "Oh my God, the temperature just changed 5 degrees. It must be your dead grandma." That kind of thing. All right. Yvette Guinevere, how do people find your work online?
For Science with a Touch of Snark, you can find me at scibabe.com or at facebook.com/sciencebabe. And you can find me at Twitter for doses of me at 140 characters at sciencebabe.
It's funny. I like the line on your Facebook page. It says, "Come for the science, stay for the dirty jokes." That's a great summation of what you do.
As you found during this, it's hard to shut me up. I apologize.
I like it.
Like I said, thank you or you're welcome.
It's, 3 type A's right here on the radio at the same time. I mean, it's just awesome. You guys have been amazing. Fantastic information. A lot of fun to speak to all 3 of you. Thank you for sort of donating your time to the conversation. I think a lot of people will benefit from your perspective. And again, I will link to your pages in the description box. So all my best to you. And thank you so much for being a part of tonight's broadcast.
Thanks, Seth.
Thank you. It's nice talking to everybody.
Thank you for having us, and nice meeting you guys.
I will see you next Tuesday night as we talk about religious schools, religious rules. And again, a huge thanks to tonight's sponsor, Harry's Razors. A great gift for the guy who has everything, and giftable razor sets starting at $15, $5 off your first purchase with the promo code ThinkingAtheist. Check them out, harrys.com, HARRYS.com. And I'll see you next week.
Follow The Thinking Atheist on Facebook and Twitter. Watch dozens of original videos on the Thinking Atheist YouTube channel. And visit our website for resources, links, contact information, the editor's blog, and more. TheThinkingAtheist.com.